Hi, it's Paul Capozio. I'm a Diamond Ambassador with New You Life, and I'm not selling out, I'm buying in. And what that means is that I was the anti-MLM guy. I was the anti-network marketing guy, and I swore I would never get into a business like this, and I never dreamed the camaraderie, the amount of income, and the just sheer happiness that I'm getting out of being in the network marketing business. You know, we're people, Linda and I, and that's my beautiful wife there next to me. If you're watching this video, and you'll see her, and we like to engage with people, and I have been in the human resources and the payroll business for the last 25 years, and to be honest, that gets stale after a while. And we were really looking for a change, more for me because Linda, was always able to express herself, and I, as I was getting more into the deeper operations of a staffing company, it was getting a little depressing, to be quite honest. And 25 years in a single career is a long time, and we were extremely successful, but just getting a little tired. And when I found network marketing and realized that we were able to share our message and that was going to help us grow our business, and meeting people on a daily basis who are excited and looking towards their future, it's just a better mindset. So, welcome to the top 10%. And what I mean by that is that if you're watching this, you are doing a lot more than the average person, especially in network marketing. We all know that there's not an alarm clock that rings to tell you to build your side hustle. There's not a time clock that we punch to make sure we get up and go to work and just put that little extra hustle in. And that's what's necessary here. You need a reason to do this, but on top of it, you have to realize that you are the motivator. You are your own alarm clock. We all know that when we don't go into work, we don't get a paycheck. And even if we own our own business, if we don't, spend the extra time and do the things that no one else is going to do, our business will fail. So you're in the top 10% because you're here. You're putting the time in, and you're um, really willing to do the extra. Now, everyone knows the story about the mom or the grandmother or the father who was able to lift a car off a child. And we all know the Leonardo DiCaprio movie where he was left in the woods to die, The Revenant. And we know that we have a survival instinct in us, right? It's born, it's in our DNA. We have fight or flight. But our success instinct, or our desire to be successful, and what I mean by that is not just money, everyone. I mean that our success instinct is that what drives us to do a little bit more, to get that extra for our families. And we don't necessarily tap into the same DNA, that same primal juices that trigger our survival instincts. And if we could try to tap into that, or just know it's there, and know that we could draw upon it, we will be more successful. And we're going to talk about that. And one of the good things about network marketing is they really tap into personal development. I'm a Tony Robbins fan. I'm a Jen Rohn fan. And you need to really put that time and effort into those areas of your life, so that you can develop personally. We all have limiting beliefs. So, you're here because you want to learn. You're here because you're looking for nuts and bolts, right? You don't need to hear that we're successful and we fly first class here, or we did this or we did that. I don't think that benefits you. Yes, you need to know that you can make serious, life-changing income in the network marketing business, but you also need to know how to do it. So here's the first thing I think is most important. The next three things you need to do if you want to double your income in network marketing, whether you're in my company or any other company, is there's no reason to believe that the next person you meet, whether it's online at the checkout counter, or you're meeting someone at a bar, watching a football game, that they cannot be your next best friend. We're constantly looking for new friends, new people that we truly, honestly enjoy to be around. That's what you need to do. We need to open our minds a little bit and expand our circle of friends. The next thing we need to do, and I really want you to do this, I want you to repeat after me. Hi. Come on. Hi. Now, the reason I want you to do that is just learn. You should be saying that word 100 times a day. You're walking, you're holding a door open for someone, or someone's in the parking lot. You're walking next to them into the Walmart, and you're meeting at the door. Just say hi. Just get into that habit of saying hello to people. Hello, hi, because that will eventually build up your skill set to be able to say, "Hi, I'm Paul. Nice to meet you," or "Hey, what are you in here for? What are what are you looking to buy?" And just find out and just start to engage people more and more and more. If this needs to be a change, you need to change your physiology when someone comes up to you. The next thing, find people of like mind. If you're hanging around with people that are always negative, or those people are always putting you down, or they're always finding the negative aspect of something, politics, the economy, the way their boss treat, any of those things, you need to kind of escape from that. I'm not saying that we never have to see them again, but if you find people who have what you want, be around them. Spend time with them, see what they do differently, see how they respond to things differently. You really need to look. Here's what I tell people: if you can't change people, then change people. Right? So this is not necessarily going to be for the lazy brother-in-law, or they might not have your. What is the chances that the day you get into a network marketing business is the same day your best friend is also looking for a change of opportunity? The odds are not really. So we're dragging people. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for people who are looking. We're not going to try to make it easy. We're not going to just go into our little circle of friends, which we may have presented things to before, or they may have seen us fail in certain things. But remember, failing is good. And you ever hear the expression that, oh, I lost my eyeglasses. Oh, you found your eyeglasses? Great. Where were they? Oh, the last place I looked. Of course, they're in the last place you looked. But the same thing with trying a business. You may fail until you succeed, and we keep trying, right? We talk about when a child is born and they try to walk, and your kid, let's say it's taken 2 or 3 weeks and he hasn't been able to take his first step yet. Do you tell him to quit? Of course not. But here's another thing that happens when we do that. We don't realize how we ingrain these conflicting philosophies to children, right? We tell them, come on, you got to walk, and we coach them to walk and walk and walk and walk. Now, all of a sudden, they're toddlers and they're walking and they're getting into everything. So what do we do after that? Oh no, don't touch, don't do that. So first we're encouraging the curiosity and we're encouraging them, and then all of a sudden we start putting these limits down on them. And that does get confusing to a young mind. Okay, so here's a little bit of our story. Now, Linda and I got involved in network marketing, one, because of a product. We had found a company that has a tremendous, amazing product, and we thought it was it still is, extremely unique. It wasn't a Me Too product. It wasn't something that you can go to Walmart and get, for half price. It was something truly unique. And then when we started using the product, Linda had literally life-changing results. I mean, I had amazing results. I was feeling better. I was looking better. It was undeniable. But then she had really life-changing results in how it affect her physiology, how to affect things when she was going to the doctor. I mean, we had measurable, real results that really changed her. If she didn't get this product anymore, I think she would be devastated. So, we had a great product, we had great results, so we made the decision to build. But you also need a reason that's going to make you come and fight. And if you look at those two kids to the right, they're actually my 27-year-old twins. That's Courtney on the right, who's actually now pregnant with my first granddaughter. And that's my son, Nick, on the left. And Nick is a great kid, very intelligent. He's a classic rock guy. He's also had some developmental disabilities, and he has some special needs that he's been able to work on. That kid right there had open heart surgery when he was a week old. We actually almost lost Nick, and it gave me a chance to really take stock in my life and understand what's important. But, he's had a rough go of it in his early years, but he's doing great. We also know that they're going to need, I have a grandchild that's going to need college education. I have a son that's going to need some support for the rest of his life. And hey, nobody lives forever, right? So you need a reason. And everybody in network marketing always talks about the why, and they show you the hot cars, and they do all of this stuff to what we call dream building. Let me tell you why you're missing the fact on that. If that bothers you, when you're at some sort of an event and they talk about that dream building, right? And it is good. It's important to talk about the first class plane fare and the trips and the great vacations that all of us take and everything else. But in fact, if you look at that, that's actually a Disney boat taking us back and forth to the hotel that we actually had our own for a few days that we were there, private. It's a long story, but it was very privileged to have that and get exclusive tours and boat rides and things like that. But what's important about that is you need to know it's possible. We need to know that our lives can be so drastically different. It doesn't matter who you are. Look, I've never spent a day in college until I was asked to speak in one. And that was big for me. So we all talk about these reasons. And when I ask people that question and they'll say, well, I want money or I want to be rich or whatever. Well, that's not good enough. It's not specific enough. I want more freedom and time to spend with my family. And these are just generalizations. I want to donate to my church Linda and I love the whole children's hospitals because it was a big impact on our life earlier on with my son, Nick, right? Then I had a kid in my business, and I asked him the question, and he said, I want a red Ferrari Modena 360, and he wanted the interior, the leather interior, that if you've ever seen a Bentley, and if you haven't, go dream build, go look at your dream car, your dream home, your dream neighborhood, look your dream vacation up, and understand that you need that, right? We need the carrot in front of us that we can chase a little bit. We need that motivation, and he wanted that leather interior, so he wanted the seats from a Bentley in a Ferrari Modena, and he wanted the rims off the Enzo. Now, the Enzo is the ultimate Ferrari, right? So I don't want to say it's the Modena is the cheap Ferrari, but it is the less expensive. Let's put it that way. The Enzo is a $250,000 car, and it has amazing rims. I think these rims are like $3,600 a piece, if not more. So the universe is listening to you. You need to be specific. You need to know exactly what you want. You need to be able to smell it, taste it, feel it, and think about it all the time. And it could be something as wanting a child or wanting to change a life for your child or someone else's child. It's the single mom or the single dad who wants to get into a home or pay off a home, or you're maybe a little bit behind on your retirement savings account, right? A lot of us realize that the economy was bad for a while and things are looking up, but a lot of us have to play catch up. So we need to understand that that's all possible. But if you don't see that and you don't realize that, you got to have a mental alarm clock that rings every morning to tell you how much time and effort you're going to put into your network marketing business. So, which guy are you? Are you spinning plates or are you hatching eggs? And what I mean by that is, a lot of us will send out a video or make a phone call or do work our list in network marketing, and every network marketing company has a little bit different of an angle, but essentially we have a way to show and talk about our product and our opportunity. And we know we need to make a list and we need to work it. Well, are you sending out one video or you're making that one phone call and then waiting for that person to make a decision? So many of us do that, right? We don't realize that this is a numbers game. And I don't mean to reduce the quality of our opportunities by saying, hey, just, shotgun this out to everybody, but you need to. Now, if you remember the old Johnny Carson show, I'm a little bit older than many of you, but, they used to have these guys that would come on, and this was big like in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the guy would come on with these plates and these sticks, and he would set the sticks up and he would put a plate on it, and then he would spin the plate. The stick would stick in the middle of the plate, and he'd spin it, and the centrifugal force would keep it up there, and it would balance, and then he'd do another one and another one and another one. And what made these guys great is they were able to set up like 20 plates or so. And then what they do is when they got to the very end, the first one would be starting to slow down and wobble, and he would run all the way back down the other end, and he'd spin that plate and get it up to speed, and then he'd go to the middle one, and occasionally a plate would fall off and break and would smash on the ground, and this way you knew it was a real plate, and you'd go back and put another one on. And that's a lot like building this business. You need to be building people up and keeping them into a certain level of momentum to find out what stage they are. Some are just seeing the opportunity, some are thinking about it, some are maybe on a first or second call, and you need to know that you need to be going back and forth and spinning them back up again until they either fall off and break or they get into the business. And the egg hatchers will take so much longer to build this business. But let me tell you another thing about an egg hatcher. An egg hatcher will get a negative result so much more than a plate spinner, because a plate spinner is going to keep moving and come back and touch those people once in a while. And a person hatching an egg is going to contact them constantly. And it could get... So This applies specifically, some of the terms and terminology applies to the network marketing business that I'm in right now, but you can get the picture and decipher it out for yourself if you're watching this and you're in another network marketing company. But, get your house in order. So many people that I talk to, and if you know a little bit about us, you know that we were not really professional network marketers until we got into our first business here. And we're Diamond Ambassadors, which at this point is the top level in our company. And you can do it. You could not have to be a professional network marketer in advance to come over with these build teams. You can build it the way we teach people to build it, by you, and you find your first two, and then those two find two, and it is real, because that's exactly how Linda and I did it, and exactly how a lot of our team did it. So, and over the time, you will attract network marketers because they're looking for success. So, what are you doing about your business? Are you active, whatever that means in your business? Are you buying the product that you're supposed to buy, or selling enough product to keep you active and qualified? Have you sponsored enough people to be qualified? We all know that we can be in our business and we're not obligated to buy anything or sell anything, but we know that if we want to make income, we need to either buy our product and sell our product, or at least sell enough. In our business, we do not have to buy anything at all. We can just sell and be fully active and qualified. Now, your back office. Do you get in your back office? Do you look around? Do you know, and can you teach how the back office operates? Do you know how to place people if you're in a binary business? Or, do you know how many legs you need to qualify? Or if you're in a unilevel, do you know how wide you should go or can go? Do you know how to explain to your people how to navigate through their back office? Can you export your information onto an Excel spreadsheet and sort and use that information when your business gets big enough that you see exactly where you're at? Do you have an active list? And I mean a physical list. I really want you to take a book, and here's what I tell people. Go to an office supply store. And I'm recording this in November of 2018. And it's a perfect time to go because the old day planners from 2018 are going to be obsolete, right? So you got these big, page per day or 2 pages per day planners in there that they're basically giving away. You can get this beautiful day planner. Some of them could even be leather or leatherette bound. And you could use that for your list. I don't care about what the date says at the top, or you're looking for the 2 blank pages, for each day. And then you would write down names, guy at the checkout counter, the guy at the wing place that I watched the football game at, or physically write out names of people and build that list. And you want to build that list strong, and you want to add 5 to 20 people per day to that list, even if you don't know the name, by just going through your phone and scrolling through. And you can come up with these great elaborate systems, but there's nothing like physically writing out a name, because it forces you to think about that person. How do you know them? What did you experience with them? Is that couple in Aruba that you swore you were going to keep in touch with when you're on vacation because you had such a great time, and we're going to make sure we do this every year, right? And how many of us really follow through on that? Well, start following through. The fortune is in the follow-up, guys. So no matter what business you're in, you need to follow up. And sometimes that means reconnecting with people, and building rapport with people. We'll get into it a little bit later, and then understand your videos or whatever prospecting tools that your organization has and your business has. Make sure you understand all of that. Then start doing that with your team. Right? Are you doing calls with your team? Are you doing 3-way calls with them, for them? How available are you to drive deep and build your business? You could go and sponsor. But if you don't start duplicating, nothing's going to happen. You need to duplicate. And the way you need to do this is to drive down deep. And there's a lot of great videos out there from a lot of great network marketers who talk about taprooting. And we can get into that a little bit. But bottom line is, it all starts with a relationship with your downline and those people that are down below them, and doing those calls. Put your time in, learn your prospecting, use your upline, and then be able to duplicate that. And then how about joint list creation? I sit down with all the people that I sponsor, and I get on the phone with them, and I make them physically start their list. And I'll write down some of those names in my lead book, in that book, that my list book that I created, that day planner we talked about. I'll make some names. I'll write some names down under that prospect of who's on their list. so that the next time I speak to them, I say, hey, how did it go with John, or how did it go with Sally? So do the joint list creation. Then I want you to have them create that chicken list, that list of people, that top level business owner or lawyer or real estate agent in town that they know would be perfect for their business, but they're just too chicken to do anything about. Well, build that chicken list and figure out a way of how you're going to break through and get to those people. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about, bringing in a brother-in-law, or the bringing in the circle around you who may not be the perfect person, or it may not be the perfect time for them. Remember, just because you got into network marketing doesn't mean someone very close to you or your best friend is interested in starting their own business at the same time. So understand that timing is everything. So you can practice on those people, though, right? If you're going to burn a lead, let's burn a lead with someone that you know that chances are they're not even ready to get into the business yet. And that's where you want to hone your skills a little bit. Now, some other network marketers may, fault me for that, but I tell you what, I've been teaching sales and doing sales training for the last 25 years. And bottom line is, you need to cut your teeth somewhere. You need to get started. And it's very simple. You want to say as little as possible, and you want to encourage curiosity. You don't want to satisfy curiosity. And then there are events. Does your team put on local, regional, and national events? Get to them. Get to them, because there's a lot of training that goes on. There's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of techniques and that you can learn and develop, and just ask questions. We talked about, who do you hang around with? Well, what better way to hang around with people that are in the same mindset than to go to a regional event or a national event and be next to people who are doing the exact same thing you're doing. Some people having less success and some people having more success than you. And then where's your future? Your future is your team. You need to be working selflessly for them. You need to be available for their calls. You need to make sure that your upline is available to them to help you build that team. You guys need to identify with each other, and you need to identify who the certain prospects are, and where the future of the business is going. Is it the person that is the top businessman? Look, business people and entrepreneurial types see the benefit in network marketing. They may not necessarily, they may be naive to the volume of it, or they may have some of that stigma issue. And you need to be able to realize that that is not true. It is a misconception of a misconception. And that's exactly where I was, the misconception of a misconception. And I didn't know what I didn't know about the business. And once I looked into it, and once I realized I had the right product and the right training, then we were able to take this thing to the top level. Now, what about your education? It's not just what the company's telling you what to do. I feel this is an agnostic video. I'm not trying to prospect any of you, but the best way for me to learn is to teach. So now I am teaching people, and that's going to broaden my approach. It's going to get me education, because I needed to do research and I needed to find out what's going to work. So start getting education and providing education for your people. Now, also, I want you to go in and look at your personally sponsored list, and you need to download that or look in your back offices as often as you can and see, who did you personally sponsor, what are they doing, what are they not doing, and understand that all of your team have the same thing. Get them to visually look at their business, because what happens is we tend to focus on the people who are producing, which is important, but we tend to forget about the people who aren't, and then we don't reach out to them and just ask them, how is it going? I've even went to the point where if someone was not happy about the business, I bought them out of their business, because I wanted to express to them that I'm sorry it didn't work out for you, and I don't want to leave you on whole. That says something about who I am, not who they are. The Excel export, that's kind of something specific to our organization, but I like to take my data out of the back office for the MLM and put it into an Excel spreadsheet, so I could sort and manipulate that data on a regular basis by who the sponsors are, who my top leaders are, the date people joined, how long they've been in the business, the states they live in, especially when I'm doing local events. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. Now, I happen to be a conspiracy theorist. I love all of that stuff. I love reading it. I'm a YouTube junkie. I'm a documentary film junkie, and I like the movie I, Robot, and all of these Minority Report with Tom Cruise, and all of these things where AI is becoming more and more powerful. And if we look even at what Elon Musk is doing, he's actually warning people about artificial intelligence. Now, I know some of the George Orwell stuff is maybe a little bit over the top, but not so much. But that's not the type of artificial intelligence that I'm talking about when it comes to network marketing. What I'm talking about is the artificial intelligence I'm talking about is Google. And every one of you in the network marketing business will realize that there are so many people who use Google and they read the first one or two articles, and it may be something very positive about your network marketing business, something negative about your company, or outright hit jobs. And one of those things that seem to be the common denominator with the first one, two, or three pages of Google about your network marketing business is that all of those ads and articles end with something like, and that's why you should try our product instead. Then you have the people who are putting up, hey, is XYZ MLM a scam? And some of them are trying to point out that it is a scam, so you buy theirs instead. And we all know network marketing is not a scam. We know it's not a pyramid scheme. And we know that we're selling product, and some organizations are a little bit than others. I don't like when people try to downplay someone else's MLM because they're afraid that people are leaving. Look, if you're good at what you do and your product is as good as you say it is, you don't need to say something bad about someone else's product. It's not necessary. It makes you look like an idiot. And people know, and they'll eventually find out the truth. Every single network marketing company out there has gone through that, and we need to stop doing it because we're not good salespeople. If you're trashing your competition, it's because you don't have the skill set to do it. And I'm sorry if that upsets you, but the understanding Google and understanding how people do that, they're lazy. You need to tell them, hey, great, let's Google that. Let's pull that up. I want to see exactly what you read, and read through it with them and go through to the bottom and see how it always relates to another product. Now, if they're talking about your clinical studies or something about your product, and your scientist is better than their scientist or vice versa, that's okay. Know your product, go through with your people, and let them make a decision. I think the network marketing industry has to have the best products out there because they're under so much scrutiny. Now, let's talk about Fords are better than Chevys. And this is what something I've been teaching the salespeople for the longest time, and it leads into the artificial intelligence or the Google syndrome. But imagine you and your best friend, you live on opposite sides of town, and you're both shopping for a new car. And you leave your house, and you happen to live 3 minutes from a Chevy dealer and 18 minutes from a Ford dealer. But your friend lives on the other side of town, and he leaves 3 minutes from the Chevy dealer and 18 minutes from the Ford dealer. So bottom line is, you leave your house and you go to the Ford dealer first. I may have messed that up, but you know where I'm going. So you leave your house, you go to the Ford dealer, and they tell you about this car that you're looking at, or this truck, and it says it has the best braking in its class, best fuel economy, the most paint choices, and yada, yada, yada. And they're touting all the virtues of this Ford product. And your buddy leaves his house and he's talking to the Chevy dealer, and the Chevy dealer is saying, this is the best braking in its class and the best fuel economy in its class. And, we have, a very large selection of colors and everything else. So now you said, okay, we are true shoppers, right? Or we think we are. We think we're going to do all our research. And your buddy leaves the Chevy dealer, you leave the Ford dealer, and you travel across town, you pass each other on the highway, and now you end up from the Chevy dealer in the Ford showroom, and your buddy does the vice versa. Now you walk in, and the Ford guy says, hey, I see you're looking at that XYZ car or truck. Did you know it has the best braking in its class? And what do you think? The Chevy does. Now, your buddy is in the Chevy dealer, and he just came from the Ford dealer. And that person says, do you know that we have more colors than any other manufacturer? And that person's, Ford does. Well, that's what happens, guys. We think we become intelligent because we're gathering our information from an unreliable source, or a source. Look, you got it with news, right? I mean, I don't want to get into it. I don't care if you watch CNN or Fox News. Bottom line is, there's spin everywhere, and you can manipulate data in the way you want to do it. And then we think that the first place we heard that data, right, the Ford Chevy syndrome, the first place we heard that data is the more accurate one because we feel proud that we have that knowledge. It's just human nature, it's ego, but we realize that it influences our decisions every single day. And until you realize that your prospects are going through that on a regular basis, there's no way you're going to counteract it unless you make them aware. So education is key. Let people know what their decision-making process is based upon. Make sure they're getting the right data, and don't try to coerce them or tell them they're wrong. No one wants to hear that. But here's the best thing. People hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And Amazon is proof of that. So understanding the human nature and prospecting. We kind of touched on that before with the Forge-Sevy syndrome, and we have to understand how people investigate, how people learn, and what they think they're learning is accurate. And this will help you turning some of those cold markets into warm markets. But understand that when you call someone or reach out to someone, especially if you haven't spoken to them in a long time, they have no idea what you're talking about, no idea why you're going to call them. So when you start going into your prearranged script, while you need to have data at your fingertips, I don't want you to go into some contrived pitch. I think it should be natural. I think you should be in a conversation, and I think you need to build rapport first. So if you haven't spoken to your high school buddy since high school and it's 20 years later, I think you need to build rapport first. And that's where we go back to plate spinners versus egg hatchers. That, if you haven't spoken to your high school buddy since, the 25 years ago, well, then you got to put him as a spinning plate, and you start him off by just reconnecting and chatting and seeing what's going on, what he's up to, where he lives now. Let's see if I can get this. This is what I wanted to show you. This is how we are perceived. All right. What do we do when we walk into a department store? Right. Ourselves. We need to understand ourselves. A little introspection here. We walk into a department store, and let's say you're a guy and you need to buy a white shirt for your suit for a wedding, and the wedding is tomorrow, and you procrastinated, and you run into the department store because it's about half hour before they close, and we need this white button-down Oxford shirt. Salesperson comes over to you. May I help you, sir? Or may I help you, ma'am? Sorry, I don't want to be sexist. So, may I help you? And what do we say? I'm just looking. We went there for a shirt. We knew what we were there for, but it's a normal reaction, and people are going to have that normal reaction. So don't appear like my alligator buddy on this slide that we're just lurking there ready to pounce on them. Don't have that approach, and understand that people are going to first say no, or first say, let me find out what it's all about, or say, I need to do more research to get back to you. There's really no research they need to do. It's just a defense mechanism, and the more we understand that, the better it is. The same way a doctor, when he interviews a patient and it's some sensitive information, they know that patient is going to be a little bit guarded about it. So they know how to break that person down to be able to make sure they're getting the right medical information. Well, we have to look at ourselves the same way, that we have to let people go through their process. Just because you believe in your product and you're successful at it, or you want to be successful at it, and you're full of vinegar, you need to realize that you need to give people space to be able to develop and grow. Some people will say yes on the first phone call. Some people will say yes on the 50th phone call. Most people in advertising realize that you need to show someone or expose someone a product or service 16 times before they decide to buy it. 16 times. I was told about network marketing about 8 years ago from two of the leading top network marketers in the industry and in the world. These guys are on stage with Eric Worre and they're speakers and trainers, and they've made millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And on top of that, I knew these guys for 25 years, and I said no to them for 7 years straight while I watched them make 1 million in their first year, and then 2 to 3 million their second year. And in one MLM alone, over a 7-year span, they made about $27 million in network marketing. That is a feat, guys, but it wasn't hard for them. I just did not have my eyes open. I did not see what they saw, and I missed a great opportunity. But I'll tell you what, when they called me the next time with the next best thing and the next new startup, I love startups. I love them. Now, yes, there's a little bit more risk involved, but if you have the intestinal fortitude and you have the forward thinking, I would rather buy Apple at $3 than at $600. All right. So if you call first, you lose. Well, what does that mean? If you call and vomit all over everyone about your product or service, you're not going to get them, guys. You need to turn that cold market warm, even if it's your best friend. Now, you need to connect with people, right? We talked about early on about saying hi and starting that process of how to build rapport with people. You need to reconnect with people first. Then you go back and you feed your plants, right? So you put these seeds down, go back and feed them, go back and respin those plates. Here's another thing. Social media. Stop bragging about your product. Stop telling everyone about your product or, hey, I'm with XYZ company. It does not work, guys. You may get one or two people who are shopping. You will also expose yourself to poachers because they know what you're doing. And if they're in a similar business or in network marketing alone, they will go through your customer list or they'll go through your friends on Facebook and try to get to everybody before you do. And if you don't have the right skill set, they'll probably do a better job at it. But how do you do that? So we don't want to satisfy curiosity, we want to create it. So you find phrases, buzzwords, postings that are going to create a general interest, and then you're going to act on opportunity. So if someone mentions something in a post or on social media or in a conversation about, hey, this thing is happening to me, or I wish I could solve this problem, and your product or service does that, boom, there's where you act on opportunity. And do it gently. Do it the same way if someone says, gee, I'm looking for, a really good movie to see, and you would recommend that movie, right? You don't really have a personal interest in the income or of that movie. You just know you love it. Try to express your product or service the exact same way. If you try to go in, it's obvious. We need to promote ourselves in what it's going to do for that other person, not what it's going to do for us. They don't care if you're going to be a millionaire if they buy your product. In fact, just the opposite. Some people, their ego, or depending on what their own personal limiting beliefs will be, will actually say no to harm you more than it would be to benefit them. It's just human nature. So understand that. We need to understand the animal that we're dealing with. Now, you see my picture of my alligator buddy right there, right? How come there are some people who learned how to flip an alligator over, rub its belly, and now they could totally have that alligator submit? It's how we deal with things. Now, I'm not trying to be manipulative. I'm just trying to tell you that if we understand the psychology of selling and we understand the psychology of interacting with people, we will be much more successful. Now, how about creating an opportunity? How about putting a phrase out there, that may pique interest about an opportunity, about what you do? Hey, are you having trouble sleeping? Are you having trouble with your long distance phone bill? Or would you like to save money? Or whatever your business is, that's where you need to do to create opportunity. That's what you need to say. You need to do something that's going to pique curiosity, that's going to express that you may have a product or service that's going to solve that problem. Okay, here's a big one. And yeah, I purposely made this a very boring slide because you need to realize that if you need flash and you need all kinds of buzzy pictures and everything else to get you to do personal development, you might as well quit right now because I'm going to tell you something. Let's talk about our friend Elon Musk, who he happens to be a little bit of a hero of mine. But if you notice, you have been watching what's going on with him lately, where he's on a radio show and he was smoking pot on the radio show and he's having some issues and he's doing a couple of self-destructive behaviors. Well, guess what? We all have internal limiting beliefs that come up from time to time. They come up on some of us early on where we're too afraid to start our own business or would never think about quitting a job to take another one, or we may not, break up with our girlfriend until we were already seeing another person on the other side. Those are all based on limiting beliefs. All of those actions, and um, if you experience any of them and do a little bit of introspection, do a little bit of soul searching and see, what are some of the things that you've done in your past and those behaviors and see how they relate to how you're living life now. In fact, you could even fast forward that and say, if you never cured some of those behaviors, and if you look in your past and see all of the things that have caused you to make bad decisions in the past, and you started to accumulate those, and you continued and imagined out for the next 10, 15, 20 years, you continued on that same path, what would your life look like? And for many of us, that would be a horror show. You actually feel physical pain when you're imagining that happening. So personal development is the key. We need to be able to look at ourselves. We need to, and how do we get personal development? Well, obviously books and videos, and YouTube and Facebook have been some really, really good tools where we don't have to spend the money. Now, what I suggest is I think it's good to have a couple of books in your bookshelf. I think it's good to not only just watch a video as a voyeur, but actually open up a book and feel it and get into a quiet corner and let you think about what's going on in your life. So what I suggest is this. Go on YouTube or Facebook and find the people that you like. Find the people that you really relate to on Facebook and YouTube, and then make a decision. Hey, if you're a Tony Robbins guy, then go out and get a Tony Robbins book, or attend one of his seminars. Or if you're a Jim Rohn guy, or if you're in network marketing and you know who Eric Worre is, and if you don't, find out and get to a GoPro event. So these are the things we need to do. We need to find who we associate and relate ourselves with. What I say is, I like to get them all. Now, Gary V may not appeal to everyone. Gary V is, he uses the F-bomb every 30 seconds or whatever. And then you got a guy like Jim Rohn, who I don't think has ever said the F word. So, a little bit of balance of all of them and come at it from a lot of different angles. I think it will benefit you more because relate to all different types of people. I know I'm self-aware. I know that I look and sound like a guy that's right out of The Sopranos. That may not appeal to everyone, but I know that if I learned a little bit about everyone else's style, I can relate. I don't want you to be to spin yourself, but I think it's important that we could relate, be a little tiny bit of a chameleon, where you can necessarily, relate to that person or at least appreciate where they're coming from. Also, deal with people that you like. But if we don't get into personal development, understand ourselves first, we're going to come off contrived. Here's another thing. There's people chase network marketers all the time. In fact, now that I've achieved a level of success in network marketing, especially since I've done it from the ground up, truly, that, people who approach me with opportunities every single day, and one of the things I've noticed very early on is that most of the newer network marketers, when they approach me, they'll approach me from what I can do for their business. Oh my God, Paul, if you only got in and you did what you did here, oh my God, it would explode my organization. Well, I don't necessarily want to hear that. I mean, I knew I get it. I understand it. But, I'd really like to hear about, hey, I think you need to take a look. You've had some serious success in network marketing, and, we got something really interesting and unique going on here. And then whatever your buzzwords or whatever your company's strength is, that's what you need to talk about to say, hey, a guy like you, if you came over here, would be. Now, listen, guys, I don't want to get into the ethics or the morality of all of that. Because people are going to do what they're going to do, and we are all independent contractors, and we also know that we could risk our incomes in if we do what they call moonlighting and all that stuff. That's not this conversation. I'm just talking about if you have a network marketer you're approaching, and they may be retired. A lot of the people that are in our organization were kind of retired from network marketing because the company's kind of burnt out or weren't even in business anymore. But that's besides the point. This is not an ethics lesson right here. This is about that if you do approach someone like that, they don't want to hear about what they mean to you. They want to hear what you mean to them. What is your hot button? What is the thing that your organization or your business model or product or service can do for them, and why they could find success there for them? If we help people get what they want, we will get what we want. So when do you do your personal development? Every single day. Start your day. And here's what I tell people. Personal development is like if you've ever been on an airplane and they talk about the safety announcements and they talk about buckling your seatbelt and understanding, when the seatbelt sign is on, and then they say in loss of cabin pressure, an oxygen mask is going to come down to the ceiling, and we ask you to affix your mask to yourself. Oxygen will flow even though the bag is not inflating. And affix your mask to your face first before assisting others. Well, guess what? That is exactly how personal development needs to be done. If you're the type of person that have a network of people or want to build one, and you're posting all of these personal development videos and things on Facebook or putting it out to your team, and you haven't watched it or haven't watched it recently, here's a good habit to get into. If you're going to post something for your team, make sure you watch the thing in its entirety first. I don't care if you've seen it 1,000 times. So it's a good habit to get into that before we post that motivational quote or before we post that YouTube video of Tony Robbins, make sure you've watched it start to finish and then post it. So when else to do it? Before a call. Sometimes we got to get charged up, right? We know that, the phone can feel like, I'm sorry, I just hit my microphone, but the phone could feel like an 80-pound paperweight, right? Well, listen, it doesn't for me. It doesn't. And I can honestly say that. Now, from time to time, if I have a big call that means something, do I need to catch my breath a little bit? Yeah, sure. I think we all go through that. But if you do a little personal development before a call and get yourself in the right mindset, right? Change your physiology, stand up. I do not do any of my calls. If it wasn't for this microphone, I would not be in one position recording this. In fact, I always thought about getting myself a headset microphone so I could walk around the room when I'm doing these videos or these webinars. The other thing is before you do any kind of prospecting. So if you're going to go out and you're going to be out that night, do a little bit of videos. Find something that you like to get you fired up, and especially after prospecting. Look, we know that from time to time we may get disappointed if we had super high hopes for, that person that we prospected, and it doesn't work out. Well, that's a good time to do it. Another time to do it is if you really had a good day of prospecting, and you just want to keep that fire burning. So why do we need to do it? You are not as good as you think you are. Okay? Self-awareness. We need to be aware of what our faults are. We need to be aware of where we have our limitations. Now, I'm kidding when I say you're not as good as you think you are. I really do think every one of you have greatness inside you. We all do, but we need to be self-aware of what's holding that back. What are the blockages we have? And then where are you going? Do you really know, are you focused on the outcome? Right? We need to understand that what is the purpose? Why are we here? Where are we going? And what is the outcome I want out of this conversation? If you just say, I want to call this guy because I want to close him, I want to get him in my business, that's too broad. I think the first thing to do is build rapport. Second thing to do is make us aware of your product or service. And the third thing is, and you're doing these little trial closes, right? I tell people, I think the first thing you want to do is be able to get someone on a call with your upline. And then what effectiveness do we have, right? I mean, are you getting the right focus? And I think personal development does that. It brings you back to understand, the nuances. It brings you back to understanding your purpose. And even though our limiting beliefs get in the way from time to time, that we can still break through that and make a connection with people. And that's all we're trying to do. People are buying you. You could have a great product, a great service, but they're buying you. So the real you needs to come out, right? And if there's parts of the real you that may seem grating to people, you need to work on that. Don't be a phony. Be real. You can be direct. You could be intense. You could be kind. You can be matter of fact. But if you're real and honest and you don't have an evil intent, right, or an unethical intent, that will come through. And then the last thing is motivations. Sometimes we need a good kick in the butt, guys, and it's necessary from time to time. All right, now we're going to get a little deep. You've been with me for about 46 minutes already, and if you're still here, hey, that means you're really going to make something happen. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best teacher or everything that you're going to get from me is going to change your life, or you may even disagree with some of it. But if you've gone this far, you want to see what's up, who I am, what kind of information I could provide to you, and how we could possibly help you. Steal from me. It's absolutely fine because I don't know if I've had an original thought in my body. But I do know that there are a lot of fundamentals out there that relate to all of us. So, creating the value proposition. That's your entire business. It's not your product catalog. It's not that your scientist is smarter than the other guy's scientist, or you have a product that has vanilla from Madagascar and the other person using it. All of that stuff is great, but those are the specifics. But what is the value? What is the reason people are coming to your business, right? Are they willing to pay for what you're providing, right? Now, you may not be the cheapest product out there. So what are you doing to build that value proposition to let people know that you're worth it? You're more than worth it, where it almost becomes no question in their mind that this is a good deal. And that's what you're doing, right? So they're buying you, they're buying your information, they're buying your product. Again, I'm going to say that the network marketing business happens to have some of the best quality products out there, and I think it's necessary. But for people to say they're willing to pay for it, the value proposition has to be clear. Now, what's the value proposition? I very rarely ever read, if you can tell by now, read from my slides, but I think this is a little bit of kind of intangible. So I think if we read it, you could do it on your own, but a value proposition is the collection of reasons why a buyer buys or an entrepreneur would even get involved. So this means two things, right? You have two different value propositions. One, when you're dealing with a person who is a customer, and every entrepreneur that gets involved in your business is also a customer. We like to be customers of our own product. Why? Why? So we can get extra PV or whatever your MLM calls it? No. But, if someone asks me a question that, do I use the product that I sell? I'm going to say, of course I do. Now, is it possible for you not to use the product and still sell it? Sure. I'm sure there are a lot of guys who drive BMWs that work at Mercedes-Benz dealerships. Or why an entrepreneur is going to get involved with your business. You need to have that value proposition of the why. What's the reason? What is it unique about what you do or your team that they would do it? Let's face it, people will tend to sponsor shop, right? They're going to say, well, listen, I know I can get involved with XYZ company, and I probably know 2 or 3 people who do it. So why would I want to join your organization? Especially if you're not, the grand poobah, or at least one position away from being grand poobah, or whatever your top level is in your organization. In essence, it's the factors that affect whether they get in and with whom. So that's it. You need to create a value proposition, right? And how do we do that? Well, what's the statement? It's a compelling, tangible statement of how a company or an individual will benefit from buying something specific, or distribute or talk to you in general. How are you going to make someone not want to poke their eyes and ears out when they're sitting and talking to you because you're going to drag them into your network marketing business? If that's what the other person is experiencing or feeling, or you feel they're feeling that, you've already made a big mistake. So a lot of times we talk about, hey man, I'm in XYZ company, I'd love for you to try the products. Wrong. It's like I have a unique opportunity, and this happens to relate to, what I use for my company, because we are a first to market product. So if you do have a product that other companies have, you have to change this a little bit. But this is more about the opportunity and the product in once, because you're going to pique the interest of a person who is looking for both the opportunity and the product. Works either way. It's for a more professional approach. But I found the unique opportunity. It's first to market, and I thought of you. I want to ask your permission first if I get 3 minutes of your time. You don't know, if you just make a phone call and say, hey man, I got to talk to you about this, you don't know what's going on in their life, especially if you haven't spoken to them in a while. So make sure that you ask permission first. I think it's respectful, and I think you know that they're able to block out time for you. And if not, find a time that's appropriate for them. Don't just try to barrel right through it. Wow, isn't this pretty? And it's going to get confusing, but stick with me, guys, because again, you come this far, and now we're getting into some real meat and potatoes. And I purposely did this later on because, a lot of the stuff that's earlier on you've heard before, but this is some stuff that I think is fairly unique. And in helping you create your value proposition. This is the how. This is the meat and potatoes. So look, we look at 1, 2, 3, 4 different substantiators, 4 different differentiators, or things that are going to resonate. But you need to build and hit on all 4 of these cylinders in order for your engine to work properly, right? So rapport. Now I put BFF, right? BFF, I heard best friends first, or best friends forever, or something like that. I say build friends first, and that's what rapport is. You're building friends first, and without rapport, nothing else in this slide matters. Nothing. So, we're going to assume that you followed my advice up to this point, and if you haven't spoken to someone in 25 years, you're not going to already send them the video and try to sell them something, right? We all agree on that. We all agree that we're going to really spin plates instead of hatching an egg, and we're going to give people time to open up their mind and understand that we're there for their best interest, not for our best interest. And the next thing we do is to need to resonate. Your products have to have a wow factor, or your service has to have a wow factor, or your team has to have a wow factor, right? So you need to figure out at what point or level you are going to wow them, or have that product resonate with them, or that service, or that team, or that business opportunity. It's going to be wow, right? Because without the wow, they're going to say, well, I don't get it. And you don't want to hear, I don't get it. You really want them about it. Now, they're not going to be excited as you are, because it's still hope for them. It's still potential opportunity. For you, it's become more real, more tangible, more palpable. Now, you need to have your product differentiate. So whatever that may be, right? I happen to have a product that's first to market. You can't get it anywhere else. As much as people will try to tell you can, you can't. But your product, right? If your product has better science behind it, or if your product has it is a me too, but you have guaranteed results, you have a money back guarantee, or whatever it is that differentiates you, your product, or your service, to that other person. That's what you need to lead with. Okay, even sometimes before the fact that you talk about a chocolate shake or a weight loss pill or or financial opportunity, they're all out there. So what you need to do, I mean, even I'm in the health and wellness business. Yeah, maybe a unique product, but people are going to still see that as a whole. So you got to hit them with the differentiator first. Then you need to substantiate. What is substantiated? Well, proof, results. Either it's clinical studies or it's thousands and thousands of testimonials and everything. I personally believe testimonials are stronger because it's real people saying real things about a real product. Yes, clinical studies are good when you're talking to a doctor, but if they're not a scientist, does it really matter? But if that's what you have clinical studies and clinical trials that are undeniable, well, then get it out there. If you have testimonials that are undeniable, if you're in the financial services and you can show a rate of return or whatever it may be, whatever you're going to do to substantiate the results of your product or service, you need to do that. So those are the 4 cylinders you need to hit on. Now we're going to go through what happens if one of those links are missing. But if you have rapport, if your product resonates or your service resonates, if you're different from other people and you could substantiate that or show results, you will not have an issue with price. You will be gaining new distributors or customers on a regular basis, and you will have tremendous loyalty. And it all starts out with rapport. And rapport, again, I don't even eliminate it in one, because if you don't have it, you'll never get to the other 3. So then let's assume now I've just cut your work down by 25% because you've already built rapport and you're a plate spinner. So I made you a plate spinner and you have rapport with people. So if we don't have a product that resonates, you could stop right there, because the person's going to say, as you can see there in green, I don't need this. I don't need it. There's nothing about it that really feels that it says I must have, or, there's no why there for them, whether it's the business opportunity or the product or both. They're not going to feel it. So with weak resonance, you get an I don't need this response. Now let's move down. If we have strong resonance that they say, wow, I really get this, and you have the rapport, but they could find this elsewhere, right? It's easy to substitute out the service or the product or something similar like it because you didn't differentiate what makes you different and you missed that boat. Then it's going to have a price objection. And I'll give you an example. If they can get a similar product at Walmart for half the price, and they don't understand how your product is different than the one they can get in Walmart or in CVS or, from TD Ameritrade, right? You've opened yourself up to a price objection, because if it's really impossible to find something of equal or value or greater for less money, you're not going to get a price objection. I understand you could buy, something cheaper, right? But we all know that when the rubber meets the road, and I'm going to use a tire analogy, and it's a really rainy night out and your kid is out there, there's the Michelin commercial that's out there. It's like, what tires would you have your daughter riding on? Yeah, so when you're going in and you're buying on price, but, I would rather see a better tire on my daughter's car. I'd sooner put a cheaper tire on my own car than on my daughter's car. So that's what you need to understand about differentiation. Now let's go to the last one, is that, if you can't substantiate that the product is what you say it is and the results are what you say, people are going to say, well, I don't know if I can make money in that. Now, why? Well, because, if I can really, if I have to fight so hard to explain why people can, that maybe it works and you got to try it, and, you don't have, thousands and thousands of testimonials or real proof, they're going to say it's too hard to make money in it. All I'm doing is trying to convince people, or they tried the product and then, 30 days later didn't have results. So now I got to find more people to buy my product because the other people are dropping off. So if your product doesn't really work and you don't have results that would reach them, or at least get them to stick with your service for another 30 days to see if they're really going to truly save money on their electric bill, or they're really going to lose that weight in the first 90 days, then people would feel that they could make money on it. But if they can't, they're not going to believe they can make money, and you're not going to turn on distributors. All right, guys, so here it is. This is the last slide, and it's momentum, the need for speed. So if you followed everything, you're probably starting to slowly build your organization. And here's one thing I did learn in network marketing. The hardest time, or the most discouraging time in network marketing, is within the first 90 days to 6 months, depending on how fast you're building your business. The growth seems extremely slow, but trust me, when you start getting into the point where Eric Worre says 20 people is the magic number. Sponsoring 20 personal people in your business is going to produce a couple of people who duplicate. And that is the common denominator among all the seven-figure earners in multi-level marketing is they've all sponsored 20 people in their first 90 days. Now, fortunate enough that many of us have done much more than that. But if you break your business up into 90-day increments with specific goals and you go for specific outcomes, you will become successful in network marketing. And like a dear friend of mine who's a network marketer and I became friends with told me that, Paul, it's like pushing a car up a hill, and you're going to push and you're going to push and you're going to push and you're going to sweat and you're going to panic and you're going to get that thing to the top of the hill, and slowly the car is going to just go over the crest of that hill, and then it's going to slowly start inching down and down and down and down and down, and all of a sudden it's just going to keep picking up speed and keep picking up speed, and it's going to be momentum, and you're going to drive deep in your organizations, and you're going to work with the people who want to work with, and you're going to wait until the people finally make a decision to go to work, and you're going to be spinning plates, be that plate spinner. So understand that once you got momentum going, don't be afraid. Guys, some of you are going to have limiting beliefs, and we talked about Elon Musk before. I tell people I'd rather work with someone who has limiting beliefs to get started in their network marketing business than someone who has limiting beliefs that show up later on. That's why personal development is so critical, because you know that these limiting beliefs are going to come on. Many of us, we start to get this momentum, and all of a sudden the company will change the pay plan, or they'll add a new product, or they'll raise the price on the product, and half of your organization will say, oh my God, this is death, it's not going to work. That's the limiting beliefs, guys. Things change. We've all worked in companies where they've changed our compensation, or they didn't give us raises, and we just take it. But in the network marketing business, for some reason, every little change is going to be the end of it, and that's because people have limiting beliefs. So I'd rather have the ones up front that I can fix, bringing someone into business, than have stuff comes up in the middle when somebody's built an organization, of about 150 people, and all of a sudden they start having limiting beliefs. That's really tough, because their organization will suffer, and when they start getting some of those negative results and maybe a couple of people quit on them, oh my God, it could be devastating. We're seeing it with Elon. Elon Musk is kind of self-imploding a little bit right now, so he's got some personal development work to do. If anybody needed, some time one-on-one with Tony Robbins, I think it's, and I'm sure he's doing it. So understand that you need to be doing personal development on a regular basis. You need to be working on limiting beliefs, and you need to realize that some of them are going to come up at the most inopportune time. Then the next thing you need to do is, guys, you need to carve out a consistent block of time. I built my business starting at 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night. That's how I did it. There's no BS there, but then I started increasing it more and more and more and more and more, and that's how we had the success. But I knew every day at a certain time in the morning and a certain time at night I had a job to do. It was my extra job. Now, you need to work on your business every single day. It's about how many times you do it. When somebody tells me I am going to work on my business. Oh, my wife and I were so excited. What we're going to do is we're going to block out all day Saturday. We're not going to take the kids to soccer. I'm not going to mow the lawn. She's not going to clean the house. We're going to work all day on Saturday and work and build this business. I cringe when I hear that, and I tell them, stop, don't do it. Number one, it's not duplicatable by all your team. Number one. Number two, you're going to burn out on it, and you're not going to get the results you want on your first day. I'd rather see you do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, every day and every night. A little bit at a time will work so much better for you. Now, we talk about skiing a lot when I talk about momentum, where some of us who have ever done snow skiing, right? You start out and you learn on the bunny trail and the bunny hill, and you learn how to snow plow, and you know how to turn slowly and everything else. And all of a sudden, you got your confidence up, and you get on the ski lift, and you're a little shaky and a little nervous, but you get off and you get on the big hill and you start heading down. And you're like, oh my God, I could turn left. Oh, I could go right. And all of a sudden now the speed starts building and a momentum starts picking up, right? And what happens is we got to navigate a turn. And we're not quite so sure that if our skill set is really up to speed with the actual speed that we're traveling at. And a lot of us will force ourselves to fall down in the snow because we don't have the confidence in our abilities. And that's what happens in network marketing to so many people, when they not sure if their skill set is right. And that's when you need to reach upliner. That's when you need to really, be honest with people and tell them where you are. But, a lot of people will quit network marketing when when they have a little bit of success, because those limiting beliefs start to come up. I'll give you a perfect example too about desire, and then I'm going to end this thing because we're just going on about an hour and 2 minutes, and I'm glad you stayed with me this long. And if you want to reach out to me, send me an email, and we can do some one-on-one. But I play golf, and I was much younger. I was a tremendous golfer, and I really enjoyed it. I was playing 3 times a week, sometimes 5 times a week, and I was really, really good at it. And I thought I really wanted to play like semi-pro golf, And I had it. I had a great game, and I had a lot of buddies who are still playing golf. And I kind of gave it up, and I play about 2 or 3 rounds a year, maybe 4. And I know that there are from time to time I can hit a really good shot, and I'm good enough now still to be able to not get my friends too upset when I play with them, because they are really good. But one thing that really, really annoys them is that I'm able to dig down deep and pull out a skill set that I developed years ago. I've ingrained my swing that when I truly focus, I can still hit a great shot. I still know the mechanics of it. It's muscle memory. It's in me. So I'll get up on the first tee, and all my buddies are up there. And the first tee jitters is a thing that a lot of golfers experience, where, they're a good golfer, but, for some reason, when there's a big crowd watching and you're not warmed up, you'll hit a horrible shot. Well, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to hit a perfect shot down the middle of the fairway, because I know that that is the motivator for me to dig down deep and pull on that muscle memory and envision that shot and hit that shot in the middle of the fairway. Now, and it will piss off my friends, right? They're like, how do you do that? And then I'll get to the middle of the fairway. Nobody's really watching. I'll hack away at the ball. And if it's a par 4, I'm going to be on the green maybe in 5, and then I'll hit a double bogey, right? And they're like, see, you hit this great shot off the tee, and then you got to, you wind up getting a double bogey and everything else. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? At least I look good coming off the tee, because it's not something I really wanted. And the same thing on that final approach, I'll come in and, I'll have a horrible hole, and then all of a sudden that last shot into the green, I'll stick it like 2 feet from the pin, and you'll hear them like groan, and it's because there's a crowd watching. So I'm able to dig down deep and pull on that skill set, but guess what? I don't really want to be a golfer, right? So I don't do that every single shot. I don't want it bad enough. So even though some of us out there could be top level network marketers and ambassadors and diamonds and platinums or whatever your MLM thing is, if you don't really truly want it, you may have everything you need to do it, and you just don't call on it. You just don't want it bad enough. And what I would tell you is this: when I found network marketing, just a very, very short time ago, back in December of 2017, the end of the year last year for me, because this is recorded in November, I knew I wanted to be a professional network marketer. And I am a professional network marketer. Have a great day.